Michael, look, I do think there's a ridiculous double standard here that will come back and bite the Democrats for the reasons that Mark Garagos said about historically, you've seen this coming a mile off, where both parties starting to ratchet up this concept of kind of going after each other's leaders in criminal courts. I mean, you see this normally in banana republics, not in the United States of America. And it really does worry me as someone who loves America and loves Americans, what this is leading to. Because if all that happens in each term of office is one party trying to incarcerate the other's leader, I don't know where that leaves America in a few years' time.
Nowhere.
Well, this will only come back to bite Democrats if they lose their grip on power, and obviously they don't think that they will. This is why President Biden the other day, when he was walking out of a press briefing, was asked, Mr. President, Donald Trump says that you are imprisoning him because he's your political rival. What do you say to that charge?
Well, I'll stop you there. We have the clip. Let's play the clip.
Mr. President, can you tell us, sir, Donald Trump refers to himself as a political prisoner and blames you directly. What's your response to that, sir?
Dun, 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 dun. That dude looked just like a daggone old ass villain. Dun, 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 dun. He looked like a villain. Our plan is working. Moo-ha-ha-ha-ha. Moo-ha-ha-ha-ha. Moo-ha-ha-ha.
Do you think the conviction
Oh, pinky in the brain face having little boy?
will have an impact on the campaign?
I mean, you look like Jack Nicholson in The Shining at the end of that. But yeah, I mean, Michael, to pick up your point there, that's the clip you're referring to.
Yes, and it's pretty clear this is not a man who thinks that he has to be accountable to the American people. When you look at the federal charge against Trump, there was a poll that came out when that charge was brought that showed 62% of Americans think that it's primarily politically motivated. They just don't seem to care. And so this has been a ratcheting up, as we've all noted on the panel, of trends that have been built up for some years now. Some would say going back to Richard Nixon. But certainly in the early Trump campaign, the Democrats tried to stop him from being president by spying on him and cooking up fake intelligence, ironically enough, with Russia. And that didn't work. Then they tried to throw him out by impeaching him twice. That didn't work. Then they tried to kick him out by rigging the election and changing all the voter rules, in some cases in contravention of state constitutions leading up to that election. That did get him out of office, and he did leave office, but then he didn't go away. He kept running again. So then they indicted him 4 times. Now they've convicted him. They're going to threaten to throw him in prison. Pretty soon they're going to threaten to send him to St. Helena. But this has absolutely nothing to do with the law. As was noted earlier, at most you're talking about a misdemeanor that would have already expired under the statute of limitations. I'm not even convinced that there was really a misdemeanor that Trump committed. So my fellow panelist here is celebrating that the rule of law has been vindicated and overturned 234 years of American legal tradition. I would challenge her to see if she could possibly articulate how and what crime Trump committed, because so far Alvin Bragg, the DA, has failed to do so. The judge in the case, Judge Merchan, has failed to do so. And they can't do it because Trump didn't commit any of the crimes for which he's been convicted.
Well,
Uh-oh. Okay, the stage is yours, young lady. Let's see if she can back up what she's talking about. Put your money where your mouth is, girl. Put your money where your mouth is. What exactly did he do? We have been teaching people how to grow online. It's been absolutely amazing. We have 3 people who have been able to reach monetization in less than 30 days. Growing YouTube channels, some from 0 people. We have one guy who had 2 subscribers before he started working with me. He started helping him. His views went up 4.8 million%. We're super excited. If anybody ever want to grow on YouTube, you reach out to me with the word coach.
Just ask quickly before I go to Kevin. Francesca, just on that point, what crime did Trump commit?
This should be easy, right?
It was financial crimes. It was white collar crimes. That is exactly what they charged him. He was convicted on.
What was the crime?
It's New York State law.
No, I understand. What was the crime?
It is New.
Francesca,
I don't even like it. It is
Well,
literally
hang on, Mark,
he just got convicted on 34 counts.
Francesca, what was the crime?
Of like cooking the actual books.
What was the crime?
You are not allowed. So you are not allowed to use your own financial, like your own money.
She don't know what the hell she talking. You are not allowed, like you're not he was cooking the books. He had a pot and he had the gravy, he had butter, and he had all of the stuff to cook the pots. And he had bacon and he had lettuce and he had tomatoes. He was doing everything illegal. He was cooking. When he was writing in the books, he had a gun in one hand and he had some crack in the other hand and he had some hookers. We seen the videotape. She is all over the daggone place, man. You are the liberal who's on Piers Morgan's show to speak up for the liberals. I want to hear what you got to say. Come on, stop all the stuttering, muttering, and uttering, and give us some facts, please.
To pay off somebody, and then he logged it as something different. He logged it as just a regular payment, but he was actually paying off this porn star to keep quiet, which, if he hadn't been running for president, would not have mattered, but he was, and so it impacted campaign finance laws in New York State. Okay, that is what Juan Merchan just oversaw this.
Okay.
Alvin Bragg brought these charges because
that's
Michael
not-
Cohen, his
that's not
sister,
quite what
was
happened.
already sentenced to 3 years to do it.
Let's just go before Kevin. I'll be very, very, very patient.
But
We'll come to you.
Look, I'm no expert. Let me just say, hang on,
No,
Michael.
Francesca.
You are no
Michael,
expert.
by the
That's
way.
fine.
You are by far no expert, young lady, but you got an opinion, though. You definitely got an opinion. And not only are you not an expert, but you're not studied up. You're prepared. You've been prepared with talking points. And that's usually what happens when you speak to people who are just on a team and they just want to win, but they don't have any facts. Like when you join conversations and you have to be objective and you actually have to trade ideas, you want to come prepared, young lady. And you probably didn't think that they were going to put you on a spot and ask you exactly what it was that he's being charged for. And you see how she is responding. She don't know what the hell she's talking about.
The campaign finance law is a federal law.
Hang on,
Anyway.
Francesca. I want to go to Mark. You're the lawyer. Is anything Francesca just said, is that actually the crime?
Look, let me just say, I like Francesca a lot, and we probably agree on 80% of our worldviews. However, Francesca, the way you just described it, call me afterwards and I'll educate you, because that's not what happened. There was no theory that was given to the jurors. The jurors were told it could have been campaign finance, it could have been tax, it could have been false books. They were told they didn't have to specify, and specifically told they did not have to agree unanimously. That's what irks me. Lifelong Democrat, no fan of Trump, never voted for Trump, never will. But I will tell you, as somebody who has spent his entire career with kind of taking on unpopular causes and holding the government accountable, I have to tell you, I do that for a reason. And the reason is this kind of shenanigans, and that's the best light I can spin it, in the criminal courts has no place in a federal election.
No, I agree.
The campaign finance laws were federal, not state, and the state laws had nothing to do with it.
I want to go to Kevin. Been waiting very patiently. Kevin, you are a very successful businessman, as Trump has obviously been in his career too. Do you think, in all honesty, if you were caught up in something like this, and I'm not for a moment suggesting you would want to have a one-night stand with Stormy Daniels, but if you went down this road and ran for office, or not run for office, if you just ran for, say, to be CEO of a company, do you think it would ever have led to a criminal case? Because the argument is that a regular business guy who's not actually running for the presidency would be treated very differently, and therefore the law has not been seen to be fairly applied here.
I think half the country in the U.S. believes this is politically motivated, which is not a good thing. It's having more impact on the state of New York, which is seen as unstable. Whether the case has flaws in it or not will be solved for in the appellate system. So most people assume, because of the importance of the situation, that it will go through the appellate system as quickly as possible, if necessary, to the Supreme Court. In the end of the day, these things balance themselves. The damage done to New York started back in the other litigation around real estate. Quietly, large projects, those are over $1 billion, are not being started in New York currently. People are waiting until things stabilize. And I've moved projects out of New York to places like Oklahoma, North Dakota, West Virginia, Montana, Pennsylvania, much more stable environments. It's too difficult to work in that unstable environment. And the real problem is You can't raise institutional capital right now. The capital from around the world thinks New York's a little off kilter. Now, something else to consider about Alvin Bragg, which I think history will prove to be correct. You've got to remember, Donald Trump only 24 months ago, in the middle of the first term of Biden, did not have control of his party. About a third of them were rebelling, if you want to use that word, because they were concerned about the controversy around Trump and they were looking for new leadership. And he was challenged. But something happened that changed everything. And this is the law of unintended consequences. Alvin Bragg started charging Trump. And immediately the entire Republican Party coalesced behind him almost in 48 hours. Of course, the country bifurcated into this being a political witch hunt using lawfare, as a tool, and we're still debating that.
I don't know how many times we're going to catch her doing Googles trying to get some more facts so she can be ready for the daggone conversation. You're not seeing one more person on the stands look down at their phone trying to figure out, okay, if he asks me this question, I'm going to be ready because, yeah, he just now asked me something, girl. Yeah, you saw what he asked me? Well, I should tell him that? Okay, as soon as they call on me again, I'm going to tell them exactly what you just now texted me. Mm-hmm. She ain't slick.
But here's what's really interesting. If Trump becomes president, I think he has a big debt to Alvin Bragg.
Right.
Alvin Bragg is the kingmaker.
Yeah.
He made Trump president by polarizing the country so much and motivating the base so much that in the last 42 hours, Trump has passed $60 million in fundraising. That's an all-time record for him. So what's happening here is this unusual time.
She continued to shake her daggone head, and she don't want to hear anything that he's talking about. She even shaked his head when Main Man said that this whole thing was politically motivated. Why did you shake your head when he said that this whole thing is politically motivated? When you yourself said that he would not have been charged for any of this if he weren't running for president. That's called politically motivated. You said it with your pretty self. You're just as cute as you want to be, just as cute as a button. You know, you're just looking like, what's the lady name that I like from Fox? I forgot her daggone name. I haven't seen her in a while. But y'all know who I'm talking about. But you're wrong, lady. You're wrong.
And I understand that you may not like that as an unintended consequence if you're Alvin Bragg. But I think history will show he made Donald Trump president one more time. And that's just the way it is.
You know what? I completely agree. I think it's one of the most willful. I'll come to Francesca in response. It seems to be one of the most willfully stupid acts of self-harm.
Emily Compagno. Yes, that's what she reminds me of. Mm-hmm. Emily Compagno. Okay.
I've seen any political party commit. You had Trump right on his knees. Done. And you've revived the rotting political corpse of this guy, and you've now got him roaring back to the White House. And the only thing, as Mitt Romney, of all people, who hates Trump and represents by absolutely the most moderate part of the Republican Party, when even he says Democrats think they can put out the Trump fire with oxygen, it's political malpractice. He's right, because the only thing that could further guarantee a Trump victory is if they try and put him in jail on July the 11th, which, by the way, I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, it's remarkable times. We haven't seen polls out since the verdict, and so everybody's waiting to see what happens with the unintended consequence of this in terms of just independent voters. And so here's the thing to realize. If you polled 1,000 independent voters, and they will decide the election, most people agree with that in states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, et cetera. I bet you, and we've had the same on this panel, we're debating it, 99% of them have no idea what this case was about at all, and have no idea what exactly he did, and I'm not sure they care. The fact that more than half of them think it's politically motivated is unsettling. Yeah. And as I said earlier, will get finished off in the appellate system. But this is a remarkable time in American history, and not that great for the American brand, as you started talking about at the beginning. This is more like a Venezuela kind of Cuba, Banana Republic story. You got the porn star. All this stuff is really not what G7 countries do to their leaders.
I completely agree. Just Francesca, I just don't get We see you're laughing, but Mitt Romney, for Mitt Romney to come down so squarely on the side of Trump.
I do want to just say, look, so the crimes were falsifying business records. Now, the reason I didn't know that before is because I'm not a lawyer and I'm not the journalist who is anchoring this entire show who should have told you that it was falsifying business records. Now, on the other
because
point,
those aren't felonies.
I hear you
that was that text message that she got. You see, she's real excited about saying whatever she has to say right now because she looked down at her phone a couple of times and her advisors, her assistants, her friends, her homies, people who are on her side and think they know more and they should be in her seat, they are texting her saying, you should say this and let them know this is what it is. Here's the answer right here. That's the answer. That's exactly, look at her temperament. It completely changed. She have a different swag about her because she looked down at that phone.
Most Americans don't care about falsifying business records. I agree with Kevin and I agree with Piers. However, I will say this. Most Americans also are very much go on gut. And they don't like that a candidate is now a convicted felon. But moreover, this candidate is someone who, and it is not the crime, however we know, cheated on his pregnant wife with a porn star in a hotel in Lake Tahoe and then bragged about it and then tried to pay her to shut up and also paid another Playboy bunny to also be quiet about their relationship.
Bill Clinton had sex with an intern
people. You're
in
going
the
back to Bill
Oval
Clinton because
Office.
it's the only thing you have.
Young lady, you are doing exactly what you're expected to do. You're pulling out rumors out your ass. You're pulling whatever you can to defend yourself. You feel like your back is against the wall and you coming to bring it now. He did this and then he bragged about it and then he tried to pay her off and all this other stuff. And he did all of that way before he even considered running for president. But then when he ran for president, we need to put all of his business out there. You are part of the problem. If any of you think that way, you are part of the problem because all of us are filthy rags if we look at it. All of us are. But this is a political play, and if you can't admit that, then something's wrong with you, sis.
Well, it's not a bad thing to have.
No one's
unlike
talking
Trump,
about
he
Bill
was
Clinton.
president at the time.
You know, I don't mean to pick on Francesca too much here, but it's very telling that even the liberals who are going on television to defend this ruling have to Google in the breaks to figure out what the crime was.
Did you see it? He called her out. He said, you got to Google in the breaks to figure out what it was. He saw her look down at her phone all them times. He saw when she looked down and she was like, okay, yes. Woo! It's like a boxer that goes back to his ring, get some water, and you got this, champ. You got this. Just stay focused. Keep going at him, champ. Bob and weave. Keep running. Keep throwing that jab. That jab. He's afraid of that jab. That's all she did. She went back to her corner. Somebody sent her a couple of texts. She Googled some stuff, tried to figure out what she should say. She's asking her mama. She's phoning a friend. I forgot what TV show that was back in the day when you didn't have the answer and you can phone a friend. That's what she just now did. Bro, thank you for calling her out. I'm glad he called her out. All right, let's go.
And even then, I'm sorry to say, misrepresent what the actual supposed crime was. The
I
reason
will Google
here
it
that
because
this has
it's
to take...
literally not
well, excuse
my
me one second, Francesca. I'll just finish my point real
cooking the
quickly.
books. That's the same thing.
Yeah. It's not a felony, not a crime. But anyway, that's a point for another time. The reason why even the great defenders of this conviction can't... yes, to you as well. The reason that they can't articulate this is because it's not really a crime. That's why they had to upend 234 years of precedent for this. And it gets back to a point that you made earlier, Piers, and that you made, Kevin, which is that Alvin Bragg really overplayed his hand. Sure, he overplayed his hand to some degree, but what else were they going to do? Donald Trump was always going to be the Republican nominee in 2024. A lot of people feel that he was gypped in 2020. He's the biggest guy in the party. It was going to happen. And Trump poses a real threat to the liberal establishment. He's not a Mitt Romney type Republican. He has different views from the so-called uniparty on things like trade, on things like immigration, and things like foreign policy and war. Trump posed a major threat. That's why they took such extraordinary measures for the last 8 years to take this guy out. They weren't able to do it politically. They weren't even really able to do it at the ballot box. So
wait a minute. Hold on. Thank you so much, M169, for saying that. She did say happy pride to him. Is she making fun of him? Is he in that community? And she's making fun of him or something when she say happy pride? Like, somebody fill me in, please. Let me know, man, because this is getting crazy.
What's left? The only thing left to do is to try to throw him in prison so that he can't campaign for the election. I agree it's backfiring.
This is not a federal case, Michael. You know that. It's not even a federal case. Why do you think that it's not a DOJ case? It's not a Biden case. It's not a Merrick Garland thing. It's New York state law. So the idea that this is somehow politically motivated is all made up in your head, because what you
Biden's
do
DOJ is
on
also
your show
prosecuting
every
Donald
day
Trump twice.
is you groom your audience.
Biden's DOJ has tried to prosecute Trump twice. This is getting good. This is getting good right here. She is pissed at him. She's like, I'm going to take it to him. Him, I can take. That's what she's saying right now. She's like, I can take him. And she's going to go at him.
Case. It's not a Biden case. It's not a Merrick Garland thing. It's New York state law. So the idea that this is somehow politically motivated is all made up in your head, because what you
Biden's
do
DOJ is
on
also
your show
prosecuting
every
Donald
day
Trump twice.
is you groom your audience for fascism and you set them up for a complete takeover of the DOJ. This is all about allowing Trump to get away with any crime he wants, as you sort of slighted and sort of, laid out very nonchalantly just a little bit ago. He was impeached twice. Doesn't really matter that he tried to blackmail the leader of Ukraine into digging up non-existent dirt on Joe Biden, but that doesn't matter to you
Joe
or
Biden
your
threatened
followers.
to withhold arms.
You want to make sure. You want to make sure that when
you're
Trump is
accusing me
reelected,
of
he
fascism.
can get away.
That's a big,
he can get away
you're
with
accusing
getting
me of
rid of the
fascism. That's a
Department of
big charge.
Education.
All I would point out is that it's not my party that's imprisoning its political opponents right now. So if we're going to throw that accusation about it.
I was about to say
prison?
one of the
Who's
key
in
tenets
prison?
of fascism is you imprison your political opponents. Let me come back to Mark Garagos.
She is so mad and she is so hurt. And the telltale sign is her big old smile. She's trying her best to not show her pain, but she is so upset with Michael Knowles right now. She want to rip his daggone head off. She probably want to punch him in the damn throat and kick him in the dingling.